You know, when I think about money, I'm going to just say that I think I've done pretty good starting from living in a basement to getting here into a position where I don't just have a Bugatti, but literally a $20 million car collection sitting right here. And for those of you that are new to the channel, this is my favorite license plate on my 1 of 1 SVJ, which I think you would appreciate too. Look at this. Look at how pretty that is. I am too poor. I really love trolling people, but today one of the things I've decided to do here at Watch Trading Academy is not give you a car collection tour, because it doesn't matter. You can follow me on Exotic Car Hacks for that. Instead, I want to talk to you about money, because as we talk about this whole idea of trading watches and turning profits and things like that, perhaps something that I've always shared with you is that the majority of people who are poor versus the majority of people that are rich simply they have this huge disconnect. And it's that poor people simply don't understand money. And so today on Watch Trading Academy, I've decided to give you a course, literally a free course, 101 on money. All right, so, you know, like I said, this isn't a car collection tour, but the idea was there needs to be a sense of credibility, because a lot of people will argue that, oh, I just bought a Lamborghini and therefore you should listen to what I have to say. Now, I have consistently been delivering information on the internet for the last 15 plus years. I've been in business for over 20 years, and I am still not only here, but I'm here doing the same things. So one of the big differences between a lot of gurus online and basically me is that I focus on the same things. I teach people alternative assets, cars, watches, art, and of course handbags. And these assets basically create a whole new mindset. And this mindset is what we're going to talk about today while we sit here and have a discussion. First off, I want you to take a look real quick. Take a look at what I'm seeing here. Take a look at this, show them. So this is basically my peace place where I basically get to sit down and take a look at this incredible display of beauty every single day. So what I want you to understand about money and beauty is that money in itself is really it has two facades to it. The first facade is the part where you're learning how money works and typically do it wrong. And the second facade is when you actually understand money and make it work. So instead of giving you something generic like saying, oh, in order to make money, you have to have passive income, you have to invest in real estate, you have to invest in things that make you money and invest more and spend less, we're not going to look at that, because that's generic crap on the internet that doesn't get you richer. But rather, we're going to look at your mind and an understanding of what it is you don't think about when you're acting with money and how you need to basically start thinking about it. So when you're poor, and if you get offended by me calling you poor, it's okay. Everybody has to accept at some point that a poor person is two levels to poor. Poor mindset, by just having a lack of education about how money works, and of course then having poor financials, meaning no money in your pocket to do the things you want. You could be poor with $1 million in your pocket, you could be poor with $10 million in your pocket, you could be poor with $5 in your pocket. It doesn't change the fact that your inability to exercise the things you want to have in life are what makes you poor. So if you're in a position where you look at things you want and you cannot afford them or buy them, you are poor, and so therefore you must adjust your mindset. So the way you do that is when you're growing up and you have no money, you typically think of money in one essence. You say, I make X, I spend Y. And the internet has you believing in this idea that if you spend less than you make, then typically you have a surplus and your savings will make you rich. Well, I've never met a single person in my life who has gotten rich off of just putting money aside. Typically, putting money aside in saving situations endorses our need for survivalship, not growth, which means that as individuals, when we grow, we are seeking to multiply our income. When we are surviving, we seek to preserve our income, right? So the disconnect for most people is that the risk is often too high to basically take their savings, because that's their survivalship. And a lot of times they have to save a lot of money to be in a place that's comfortable enough to go basically on this run of being able to test and the opportunity of turning your money into more money and ultimately getting richer, regardless that you do it with watch trading like I teach on the channel or anything else, right? The part where, or the big difference between that aspect of I make and I spend is that when you get wealthier, you no longer think of money as expenditure. because that is how basically money keeps you poor. The more you spend, the more you have to make more to replenish it, but then you need to make significantly more because you want to spend more. So it's this never-ending kind of cycle. And then in addition to that, you have debt going to the equation, which means future money owed, and that becomes even grayer area, which is why I'm not a fan of doing rental units and things like that don't make any sense. What I am a fan of is understanding the leverage of money. So rich people leverage money. They don't spend money. And there's a difference with leveraging money than spending it. Spending it means the money's gone. Leveraging means the money is parked and is being utilized to either make money or at least preserve money. So leverage of money is what a lot of people who are poor don't understand, because they're basically on this high of expenditure. If you've ever been in a position of wanting a cool car or wanting a cool watch or even wanting a luxury like a cool house or cool apartment, whatever it is, you have to understand the position that this item basically puts you in at an early age when you don't have a lot of money, so the money can be leveraged but never actually spent. So when I didn't have a lot of money, I would look, for example, at a Lamborghini instead of a Honda. So part of the reason, because a Lamborghini, once depreciated, doesn't really lose its value. However, a Honda, once depreciated, continues to depreciate to zero. So the leverage that a Lamborghini creates is significantly more by not only preserving the money, opening new networks, and allowing me basically more growth outside of the financial aspect of the car transaction itself. So the idea is that leveraging money means your ability to basically park that money in something rather than actually lose it. Let me give you an example of that. Follow me over here. Let's say, for example, many of you guys want something more generic like a Lamborghini Urus, right? And so if you look at a Lamborghini Urus, here's my 9th Lamborghini Urus that I've owned over the years. This is the latest, greatest Performante model. Now, this model is the most expensive Lamborghini Urus, and a lot of times, in the regular thought of money, you would say, well, you have spent more money on this than a regular Urus, therefore you are wasting more money. But what if, because this is the nicer, more desirable model, its depreciation cycle is significantly less than the old one? Then that would mean that by putting more money at play, I am preserving more money rather than losing money. And you see, when you look at just everything around you, everything from your monthly payment on cars to your monthly rent or anything, that's how you think of money, expenditure. Leverage means that you understand money for what it really is, which means that by spending $340,000 on this, I'm not actually spending it. I'm allocating it to this car and able to get $345 to $350 out, which means that I have put myself in a position of making $10,000 regardless of what the monthly payment is on that. And you can do the same thing even if you have a monthly payment. As a matter of fact, many of you guys understand that leverage comes from borrowing. For example, you can borrow bank money, and that creates leverage for you to be able to acquire an asset, acquire an investment, or anything else. And the argument here is not just talking about investment as the cars or whatever else it is, because some people will never understand why certain cars are investments because they don't follow exotic car hacks. Other people will, and many people will not even understand why watches are investments if they're the correct watches. They will just say, no watches are investment, all of this is messed up. Those people are usually miserable and very poor. The argument here that I'm trying to get you to understand is that in order to change your mindset from one of poverty to one of abundance, you need to understand money for its true essence and not just what it means to you. What that means is that what something means to you unaffordable does not mean it makes it bad. And so when you learn how money works, right, once you understand that your car is not what your monthly payment is, its affordability is not defined by its monthly payment, its affordability is defined by its entire ownership cost. When you understand that paying rent in some cases can make more sense than buying a home, when you understand the true cost offset of that, because you're not just thinking, well, if I pay $2,500 a month, that's money I'm throwing away. But if I buy and I have a $4,500 payment, that's putting money in equity somewhere. Well, that isn't always true. If you buy the wrong house, it may not go up. It might actually create negative equity. If you have too high of an interest rate, your payment might be higher than your rent money. So all of these things create certainly a disconnect for most people, and therefore it requires you to understand the true cost of money instead of piece counting into what it means to you and you spending it. Because when you look at money as spending instead of leverage, you turn yourself into a position where you're always making more in an attempt to outdo the amount you spend. And so you're very limited in your expenditure, and the money never multiplies itself. Now, the argument would be if you parked your money in this car, a year later even made more money and were able to then spend, whatever you wanted, but take the money back out of the car and put it in another car, you would never need to spend money on a car again. That is the concept that most people don't understand, which is why I wanted to have this conversation with you on the internet today. So hopefully you've learned something new today about the cost factor of money and how to leverage it instead of spending. If you want to learn more things like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And then let me know in the comments what type of topics like this would you like me to cover in the future. I would love to help you become more intelligent or emotionally intelligent towards money, and how to yourself get into a place where if an immigrant like me was able to go from zero to this type of car collection, to this type of office, to this type of lifestyle, then many of you guys can too. That is the essence of the American dream, and the capacity to work in the right direction until that work turns into income. So that said, I hope you've enjoyed this. Happy holidays, and of course, make sure you click the link in the description and learn how to turn watches into profits this holiday season. I'll catch you next time for Watch Trading Academy.
People go like, who would spend 50 grand for a watch? $50,000 watches are in the mail every day. Like,
I never got into buying watches because I never had the awareness. I just assumed that a used watch was just a dangerous play.
I had no clue about watches before I started.
But then I started seeing a watch trading academy and I went, that's awesome. Portable, I can do part-time, I can do it whenever I want.
They're small, easy to ship, no regulation, no registration, and the dollar numbers can be anywhere from $100 to $100,000.
The return on that was pretty big, 35% ROI.
And I ended up selling that watch for $9,900.
Making $1,500 on a $3,000 watch was mind-blowing.
The course progression has gotten me into using watches as an investment class. Buying higher-end pieces, hanging on to them, watching them appreciate in value.
Really just take me out of this consumerism mindset, more to this mindset of keeping your wealth while enjoying the item.
I became a firm believer in getting investments that I can actually enjoy, not just sit in the closet somewhere.
I told you in the past, my goal is to do as little as possible and make as much as possible. It really does not take much of my time at all.
You're giving us the information that's teaching us how to work with everything.
I could not have imagined that this is how it's going to be. I mean, the experience is, it's excellent.
It's something crazy. You tell that to somebody and they won't believe it. Until you experience it and you do it and you tell them it's true. There's thousands, even millions of watches that there's plenty of money to be made.
You see all these success stories. How many more do you need? Everybody's got a nicer car. Everyone's got a nicer watch. Everyone has more money in their bank account. Everyone's going on trips with their family, taking care of their wives, taking care of their kids. If you got doubt, like have doubt. Cool, more room for us, right? But like, there's too many case stories now. There's too many successes. PJ's built way too great of a community. The tools have ever adapted. I mean, 100K Club, right? Is that much faster? I mean, you just got to get started.
Watch Trading Academy. Learn how to buy, sell, trade, and invest in luxury timepieces